I call this December 9th regular session of the Oconee County Board of Education to order. First order of business is we need approval of the agenda.
For the last time, so move.
Mr. Burgess?
Second.
Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 5-0. Next, we need a motion to approve the minutes from our November 11th regular session.
So moved.
Mr. Hammack?
Second.
Ms. Parrish, all in favor? Passes 5-0. Next on our agenda is recognitions. Mr. Colquitt.
Thank you, Ms. Arago. Good evening, board members. Dr. Branch, we have several recognitions this evening, so if you'll join us up front. As you come forward, I'll point out that the art display this month is from the students of High Shoals Elementary. This display will be on our monitors right now, of course, and then on the hallway monitors as well. And we thank them for their great art, including the lobby and their assistance with our parade float from yesterday. First this evening, the board will recognize the December Pursuit of Excellence Award winner for paraprofessionals, Sandra Dukes of Malcolm Bridge Elementary School. She is receiving a $50 Visa gift card and golf umbrella provided by Peach State Federal Credit Union. She is also receiving gift cards from Chops and Hops and Rosie's Hometown Meats, as well as a commemorative plaque from Oconee County Schools. Ms. Sandra, here's what some of your colleagues had to say about you. When students and parents pull in the parking lot of MBES for morning car riders, one of the first people to greet them with a big smile on her face is Mrs. Dukes. Her waves bring a sense of security for parents and help students start their day in a cheerful way. She always encourages students to be the best they can be. She always finds ways to make learning fun and is remarkable with helping to build a strong foundation for our students. She goes above and beyond to show empathy for every learner. She also willingly dedicates time to support new staff members, and she seeks out ways to help them adapt to their new environment. We are grateful for her eagerness to make Malcolm Bridge a better place. She is an absolute gem. Every grade level wishes they had her as their para. The December Pursuit of Excellence winner, Sandra Dukes. Next, the board will recognize the 2024 FFA State Fair Chapter awardees from the Malcolm Bridge Middle School Chapter, Horticulture Superior Chapter Champion, and Forestry Superior Chapter Reserve Champion. The advisor is Emily Corson. Next, the board will recognize the 2024 FFA National Agri-Science Fair awardees. In Plant Systems Division 3, first place, Emmy Walker of North Oconee. In Plant Systems Division 2, second place, Nora Brubaker and Asher Grace Bailey of Malcolm Bridge Middle. Food Products and Processing Systems Division 2, fourth place, Hazel Brubaker and Kevin Joy of Malcolm Bridge Middle. Animal Systems Division 2, fourth place, Christopher Butler and Lena Steinkamp of Malcolm Bridge Middle. Social Systems Division 2, fourth place, Allison Anderson and Harper Havoc of Malcolm Bridge Middle. Powers Structural and Technical Systems Division 1, Fifth place, Sarah Seall of Malcolm Bridge Middle. Plant Systems Division I, fifth place, Riker Crockett Costas of Malcolm Bridge Middle. Environmental and Natural Resource Systems Division I, eighth place, Krissa Borlai of Dove Creek Middle. The advisors are Emily Corson, Tim Griffith, and Brandon Walker. Next, the board will recognize the 2024 Class 3A Boys Cross Country State Champions from Oconee County High School. Eli Beal, Champ Blos, Aaron Broderick, Noah Dixon, Jonah Ferguson, Samuel Hostetter, Brennan Mullis, Dayton Blos, Malcolm Cohen, Tate Jenkins, Rylan Mixon, and Lucas Witkovich. The coaches are Jake Forrester, Jim Norton, and Kendra Houghton. Next, the board will recognize the 2024 Class 3A State Girls Cross Country third place team from Oconee County High School. Reagan Gilmore, Cadence Keese, Caitlin Crum, Ruthie Sherrard, Alyssa Tan, Annabelle Witkorski, Mary Wood, Lala Andrews, Elsie Baker, Evelise Munoz, Amanda Susser, and Caroline Sherrard. The coaches are Jake Forrester, Jim Norton, and Kendra Houghton. Next, the board will recognize the 2024 Area Special Olympics awardees from Oconee County High School. The basketball 3-on-3 champions, Keyshawn Norman, Harvey Aquino, Wyatt Cushman, and Will Bentley. Basketball skills competition. Basketball skills competition, second place, Claudia Bowl and Jordan Wheeler. Basketball skills competition, third place, Amelia Hanks and Emma Johnson. Basketball 3-on-3, fourth place, Madison Moser, L.J. Thomas, and Adam Barraza. The advisors are Kyle Tanner, Autumn Fullington, Allison Severson, Tiffany Green, Jamie Hale, Elizabeth Nix, and Jessica Sullivan. Board members, we have a final recognition this evening, but for this one, I'll ask that you return to your seats. Dr. Branch.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's my pleasure to take a few moments tonight to recognize our board chair, Ms. Kim Argo, on the outstanding service that she's provided Oconee County Schools over the last 16 years. Ms. Argo is the longest-serving board member in the history of Oconee County Schools. Our records go back to 1955, according to Ms. Zoe, and we have researched that, and well-deserved recognition and certainly outstanding service. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments that have been achieved under the leadership and direction of Ms. Argo since 2009. She's been trusted by the people of Oconee County and successfully elected 3 times to post 1 as the board chair, 9 years of service as a board chair, leading 7 different board members through 225 meetings. Named the GSBA Governance Team of the Year in 2020. Student enrollment since 2009 has increased 25%. Ms. Argo started in 2009-2010 school year with 6,400 students roughly, and we have roughly 8,600 students at this time. The highest achievement in Oconee County Schools history has been achieved during Ms. Argo's tenure. This year alone, we've had a graduation rate of 99.1%, an increase from 91.5% in 2009. We increased SAT scores to the number 3 ranking in the state, and ACT scores to the number 1 ranking and highest in the history of Oconee County Schools. Our advanced placement achievement rates have increased to 94% from 75% in 2009. We've added high school credit in middle school, in algebra, physical science, band, chorus, and Spanish. Increased CTAE industry certified programs from 1 program to 10 programs. Advanced placement course offerings from 19 to 28. And an amazing stat, from 2009 to 2024, Ms. Argo has shaken the hand of 9,140 high school graduates from Oconee County Schools. In the realm of technology, she's approved purchases that have had a direct instructional impact in our classrooms. 36,259 Chromebooks for $11.9 million. Approved the purchase of nearly 4,000 desktop computers, 2,348 staff laptop computers, the purchase of over 1,600 projectors, classroom audio systems for all of our elementary schools, as well as intercoms, and a new student information system, just to name a few. Improved the district's technology planning and implementation by implementing a 1-to-1 Chromebook initiative for all students, establishing technology usage standards within the 21st century classroom, and replacement cycles for all technology. Expanded technology capabilities of our district by implementing and expanding wireless access points in all schools, adding new redundant network firewalls for safety and security, 3 new servers, and increase the internet connection speed from 1 gigabyte to 10 gigabytes. In the area of human resources, Ms. Argo has approved 2,268 rather, and I won't cheat you out of those other 2, new hires. This number exceeds the total number of current regular employees by more than 1,100. She's hired over 90% of the current staff in our district, voted to approve 12 of the 12 current principals. Lots of smiles out there when I said that one. voted to approve 18 of the 19 current assistant principals. Like you, I wondered which assistant principal she did not approve. The answer is Michael Dowis of North Oconee, who's also retiring this year. Voted to approve 57 of the 60 current central office leaders and staff. In the realm of communications, hired the first ever Director of Communications in August 2017. Launched Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube for the system with over 22,000 followers. Launched the first Villa program in 2019. That program provides parents an opportunity to learn more about public schools in our local community. Changed the board meeting times to 6 p.m. and began live streaming and recording those meetings. In the realm of student services, updated security cameras in all schools and all buses. Enhanced visitor management and reunification system with Raptor, added crisis alert system Centegix, added security vestibules at the entrances of all schools, added access controls to all schools. In the realm of athletics, added esports, dance, flag, lacrosse, and slow pitch softball to the high school athletic programming, and provided for sixth graders access to participate in middle school athletics. In the realm of special education, added 3 instructional support specialists, 2 speech language pathologists, increased our special education teachers by over 20, and raised the special education graduation rate from 84% to 100% this year. Once again, the highest graduation rate in Oconee County Schools history. Increased the parent survey participation from 65 parents to 712 parents, and the positive rating for our special ed program from 54% to 97%. Began the Oconee County Dyslexia Endorsement Cohort in 2022. Started the Manufacturing Institute for High Schools in 2020, and supported and participated in mock interviews for high school special needs students. In the realm of operations, Ms. Argo has approved the implementation of $191.5 million building campaign to modernize and enhance instructional and athletic facilities during her time. 6 additions, 14 renovations, 11 modifications, 5 athletic enhancements, 5 new constructions, Dove Creek Middle, Dove Creek Elementary, Oconee High School, concessions in their athletic North Oconee Fieldhouse, and the instructional support center we sit in today. With regard to buses, Ms. Argo has approved 62 of our fleet of buses. I think we only have about 80. For $6.4 million, but perhaps most importantly to the students, also approved the air conditioning of all of those buses. And finally, as regards to business services, from 2009 to 2024, Ms. Argo has approved budgets equaling $1.19 billion. Decreased the millage rate from 18.5 mils to 14.25 mils, which is the lowest rate this century. Approved a certified and classified raises equaling 21.5% since 2015. Has expanded the steps from 22 to 30 for all eligible employees, and has led a system that's been ranked the #1 school system in Georgia for financial efficiency by the Georgia Department of Education in 2019, 2018, 2017, and 2016, so much they've decided to stop giving it because she decided that we shouldn't win it anymore. So please join me in showing your appreciation for service and job well done, Ms. Kim Argo, Board Chair. Kim, if you'll join us, and board members, if you'll join us down, we have a special presentation. In recognition of your service to Oconee County Schools, January 1st, 2009 to December 31st, 2024. Sorry, I think you have family members here as well. Would you like to have them join you for a photo?
My son, my oldest grandson, my son-in-law, and my daughter. We'll do both.
Okay.
I'll come this way.
I'd like to say something for a minute, if I may. I just wanted to say that I'm going to miss serving with both Tim and Kim, and that's not just because your leaving makes me the eldest serving member and by age, and the only female, but because you have been such good role models for me. I'm so grateful that you were on the board when I joined. Tim, with all of your budget knowledge, has been invaluable, and Kim, just your leadership and your knowledge from being a teacher and in administration has been so helpful to me, not coming from that world. And I just want everybody to know that all the time you were servant leaders, and you always did what was right for the students and what our community wanted. And I thank you very much for your service.
I think Dr. Branch forgot to acknowledge the fact that I'm the only sitting board member that hired him. Okay, next on agenda, I have points of pride. High Shoals Elementary. Welcome, Ms. Goforth.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Branch. I'm Tamara Goforth, the principal of High Shoals Elementary School, and here with me tonight to talk about the wonderful things happening at our school are our assistant principal, Chelsea Palmer, and then we have 5 of our 5th grade student leaders. We have Bo Webb, Isaac McCulley, Lucy Grubbs, Carter Townsend, and Sutton Thomas. At High Shoals Elementary School, we pride ourselves in fostering a well-rounded education that extends beyond academics. We're dedicated to helping our students excel in their studies, and we also place a strong emphasis on the value of acts of service and giving back to the community. It's this time of year that holds a special significance as we come together to teach our students the importance of kindness, compassion, and making a positive impact on others. Through various service projects and community initiatives, such as creating chemo care bags and supporting the Bear Hollow Zoo, we aim to instill a sense of responsibility and empathy in our students, helping them grow into thoughtful and engaged citizens who understand the power of helping others. In addition to our service projects, we celebrate student achievements through our Hawks Hall of Fame, where students are recognized monthly for embodying our 3 R's, being respectful, responsible, and remarkable. These students demonstrate leadership, positive character, and commitment to excellence, inspiring their peers to follow their example.
At High Shoals Elementary, we got to do something really special to help others. Our school worked together to collect all kinds of items to make nearly 60 chemo care packages and a banner with supportive notes for patients at the University Cancer and Blood Center.
We added things like cozy socks, snacks, and other items to make people cared for during their treatments. It felt so good to know that something we made could help brighten someone else's day. I liked working with my friends to put everything together, and it reminded me how important it is to be kind and help others in need.
At High Shoals Elementary, we raised a generous amount of money for Bear Hollow Zoo. By student choice, we supported a variety of animals, including bears, snakes, opossums, eagles, and otters.
We collected donations for 2 weeks for these loving animals, so all could continue to enjoy visiting them at the zoo, knowing that we, as High Shoals Elementary School students, help change an animal's life is very inspiring. Hawk Ambassadors is a student leadership program where we represent and serve High Shoals. In order to become an ambassador, we applied and went through an interview process. After being selected, we took a course taught by the University of Georgia J.W. Fanning Institute for Leadership Development. In this program, we learned how to be strong, effective leaders. As ambassadors, we have opportunities to participate in many school events. One of the events we did over the summer was the New Family Orientation, where we led tours and enjoyed welcoming new students. When the school year started, we were familiar faces to these new Hawks, opening car doors and walking students to their classrooms. My favorite event this year so far was the Veterans Day program, where we got to greet guests, help serve breakfast, and spent time getting to know some of our veterans. I love being a Hawk Ambassador and being able to serve the school and community who have done so much for me.
At High Shoals Elementary, we strive to nurture well-rounded students who excel academically, lead with integrity, and give back to their community. Through service projects like the Chemo Care Bags and Bear Hollow Zoo, recognitions like the Hawk Hall of Fame for our 3 Rs, and leadership roles, our students have learned the value of kindness, responsibility, making a positive impact. Together at High Shoals Elementary, we are shaping future leaders who excel academically, serve their community, lead with excellence, compassion, integrity, and heart. Thank you.
Ms. Goforth, can we get a picture with the students and with the administrators, if that'd be okay? If we can just get y'all to come down here? Y'all want to stand up here or go down?
Steve, do you want us to come back?
Next on our agenda is Superintendent's Report. Dr. Branch.
Thank you, Ms. Argo, board members. A little nervous after that outstanding presentation by our students. Won't measure up for sure, but it's wonderful to see the outstanding work that's taking place in our schools and the wonderful students that are taking part in leading that work. A few things that I just wanted to share since we last met. we did have the opportunity to hold our traditional Thanksgiving feast at all of our schools. I want to thank Caitlin Brand, our Director of Nutrition, and all of our cafeteria staff, as well as the staff at the school. We served approximately 7,300 Thanksgiving feast before the break, and just an outstanding community event, and opening our doors to allow parents to come in and see the daily workings of our schools. Keeping with the Thanksgiving theme, our students, staff, and community continue to show their generosity. And we collected this year 45,000 cans and non-perishable food items to support ACTS, which is the Area Churches Together Serving. We do that each and every year. And I believe 45,000 is if it's not the best we've ever done, it's certainly right there in the top. So congratulations to our students and staffs for their giving hearts and supporting the needs of our community. I want to thank our board members, our schools, our clubs, various sports teams, and of course our bands that participated yesterday in the annual Watkinsville Christmas Parade, another great community event. And as we turn the page to this week and start preparing for things in the future, pleased to share some knowledge that you probably and everyone in the room is already aware of. North Oconee will be playing Marist for the 4A state championship.
Go Titans.
Go Titans, there you go. That is next Monday at 7 p.m. at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And so we are excited about that. I understand that North Oconee flag football is playing currently right now. Just one, there you go, okay. So they will play Thursday in the semifinals, and if they win, then they will play in the state championship at 2 p.m. on that Monday as well. Where do they play Thursday, Keith? At home.
6:30. Work on times now.
Okay.
After tonight.
So lots of great things going on there, as well as basketball, wrestling, swimming, diving, cheerleading, and dance are taking place right now. And so competitions and events taking place all over our area, as well as all over the state for those outstanding student athletes. So we want to wish them the best of luck, and I look forward to supporting North, of course, as they go for their first state championship in football. Of course, have won many other state championships in other areas. We do have 9 days left, believe it or not, in the first semester of our school year. It's really flown by, but some wonderful things that have taken place, and as we all know, some challenging events that have taken place in our world and in our area. But again, want to thank the staff for the outstanding job that they do each and every day with our students and providing what we know is a world-class education, and as we like to say, with a small-town feel. Last thing I have, board members, is a board policy BBA for board officers. As you know, we have the draft on the table, and we have submitted that draft to the Georgia School Boards Association for their review, and they have made any adjustments to that draft, and so we have the new draft before you tonight. So when we go into action items, we will ask the board, recommend that the board approve the new policy BBA, which will read, the Board of Education shall elect by majority vote at the regular January board meeting a chairperson, a vice chairperson who shall preside in the absence of the chairperson for terms to be set by the board, and a legislative liaison. That was the adjustment to language that was suggested by the legal staff that reviewed this. Of course, this is a change from the previous policy that said that the individual elected to post one would serve as the chair, and that's due to the passage of House Bill 1496, which was then also passed in the November election by our local community. So necessitating that we update this policy to come in line with the new legal terms of your board service. So we'll address that once we get into action items tonight. And that concludes superintendent's report unless there are questions.
Thank you, Dr. Branch. Next on the agenda is presentations and discussions. First is teaching and learning report. Welcome, Dr. Stansel.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Branch, board members. The December 9th, 2024 Teaching and Learning Report contains one item of information and no action items tonight. The first item of information is an update on our CCRPI scores in the areas of content mastery and readiness. On the screen, you will see the rankings for our elementary content mastery scores and the rankings for our elementary school readiness scores. The next two slides show content mastery for middle school, readiness for middle school, and then the next two slides show content mastery for our high schools and readiness for our high schools. That concludes the teaching and learning report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is student services. Welcome, Dr. Yancey.
Good evening, Ms. Argo, board members, and Dr. Branch. The December 2024 Student Services Report contains one item of information and one action item. First item of information is an update on the district's memorandum of understanding with the Oconee County Sheriff's Office regarding the School Resource Officer Program. As requested, we have continued to review all options for law enforcement presence in our schools. Since our last board meeting, our team has met with Sheriff Hale and his team to formalize a memorandum of understanding. Mr. Kofer will come up shortly to provide an update on that process. In addition to working on an agreement for a formalized memorandum of understanding with our Sheriff's Office, we have, at your request, continued to review the current models of school resource officer programs within systems and districts around the state. At our last board meeting, a community member asked the possibility of having officers employed by the school district at 51%. During our research, we have been unable to find districts that employ this model, but we have found school systems who fully employ their own accredited police force. In review of this model, we are aware of approximately 27 systems in the state that incorporate a post-certified police force. To inform our research of school-based police forces, we have spoken with several systems and districts around the state, including Cherokee County, Clark County, Elbert County, Habersham County, Muskogee County, Newton County, and Union County. While the duration of time from initiation to implementation of a school-based police force varies, I'm going to discuss some common steps shared with our team through conversations with other school districts. To be recognized by the Peace Officers Association and to support gaining post-certification, the local Board of Education would need to pass a resolution in conjunction with OCGA 20-8-5 to establish a school-based police force. A very common next step would be to complete a needs assessment and strategic planning for the police force. After establishing our needs for a school-based police force, we would need to define a leadership structure and hire a qualified candidate for the chief of police position. Following OCGA 25-1-12, this person must be certified as a peace officer and would need to attend the chief executive training upon being hired. Once hired, the chief would contact the GBI to have an originating agency identifier assigned to the new agency. In addition, the Georgia Peace Officer Standards and Training Council would need to be contacted to advise of the new agency and request establishment of the agency's training records protocol. From there, the chief would work with the superintendent's office and human resources division to create job descriptions, pay scales, and hire the necessary members of police force. Additionally, we would need to begin the acquisition of equipment and implementation of training of the officers. While this may be a simplified presentation on what is certainly a complex process, we wanted to provide an update to the board on a few steps necessary to develop a school police force. We will continue to gather information related to establishing a school-based police force, but know the formalization of a memorandum of understanding with Oconee County Sheriff's Office remains the priority. This concludes my portion of Student Services Board report, but I'll remain available to answer any questions.
Mr. Burgess?
Dr. Yancey, I appreciate you providing that, that presentation. It's an interesting concept, and it's also an alternative to the approach we've been talking about for several months to go forward. And it's interesting to hear that a number of other school systems in the state apparently chose to go down that path. In your research, do you know anything about why those school systems may have chosen that path as opposed to the path that we've been talking about? And are they generally satisfied with what they've done and the way it's working for them?
So, I don't know every reason. I know some out of the ability to form that versus working in conjunction with a local law office. But some are satisfied, some are a work in progress, some are a hybrid model between the two. And so there's still a lot of work. Some have been established for a number of years, some are just starting, and so there are some different opinions along that scale.
Do you know which one of those is probably the first or the longest serving police force?
The oldest one we spoke with Cherokee County
Cherokee.
Schools.
So they've
It was
been doing
late
it.
90s.
They've been doing it for quite a while?
Yes, sir.
Okay, interesting, thank you.
Anyone else?
At this time, I'll ask Mr. Kofer to come up and speak on the district's memorandum of understanding.
Good evening, board members. Last month, we shared with you a draft MOU that would create a partnership with the Oconee County Sheriff's Office to provide SROs for our schools under a contracted services agreement. Since that presentation, we have had additional time to collaborate with the Sheriff's Office on the presented draft, and tonight we are sharing with you the updated MOU. While the financials are still to be decided, tonight's MOU does represent an agreed-upon understanding of the roles and responsibilities of all involved organizations. Provided for you this evening is a copy of the draft from our November meeting, an edited version of that draft that shows all the edits that have been made, and a version labeled Draft December 9th, 2024, that is a completed and/or clean version of the MOU. I'd like to take a few minutes to highlight some of those changes for you. We have added the Board of Commissioners to the agreement per advice of counsel. You will see the addition at both the top of the agreement as well as the inclusion of BOC to refer to the Board of Commissions throughout the document. We have also changed school system to school district at the advice of counsel, and this too is going to be reflected throughout the document. We have removed section 3.1 as the number of staff to be provided is detailed later on page 8, which we refer to as the addendum. 3.1A, B, and C are all duties that were moved to appear with the rest of the duties of the SRO under Section 4. We removed 3.1D and E at the request of the Sheriff's Office. Under 3.2, verbiage has been updated, and the Georgia Public Safety Training Center has been removed in favor of an approved school resource officer training program. The sheriff has shared there are approved options outside of the one that was listed, and the sheriff would like to ensure that deputies can be enrolled in a program as soon as possible and did not want to be limited to one program. We amended 3.3.1 to provide detailed working hours for the SROs. This is to alleviate any potential miscommunication, as well as provide for 85 working hours for the SROs over a 2-week period. This aligns with the working hours of other deputies at the Sheriff's Office. And you'll note SROs would be on campus at elementary schools beginning at 6:45 and remain until 3:15. And at the secondary level, they would arrive on campus by 7:30 and remain until 4. This would ensure that SROs are on campus for arrival, the school day, and dismissal. Under Section 4, we removed reference to school system policies for number 16, as the SRO would be held to the sheriff's policies during any investigations, arrest, or interviews. This is the 8th page of the MOU. And again, this is what we refer to as the addendum that discusses the number of staff to be provided and the cost. We have updated this page to include the Board of Commissioners and a cost per day per deputy versus an annual cost. Additionally, we have added language to clarify that total compensation will be determined by the number of deputies and days worked, as well as clarified that 12 deputies are being requested for the FY26 school year, but that the Sheriff's Office and Board of Commission will provide them as they become available. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board vote to approve this MOU that contains mutually agreed upon duties and responsibilities and clarifies expectations for all parties, and that upon approval tonight, a copy be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners and the Sheriff's Office for official approval by all parties. This concludes the report for Student Services unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. Next on our agenda is special education. Welcome, Ms. Korngold.
Good evening, Ms. Hargo, board members, and Dr. Branch. The December 9th Special Education Board report has one information item and no action items. Tonight you saw a few of our athletes come and join us tonight to celebrate their win for the area Special Olympics game, which was super exciting. And this was a picture that was taken at Oconee High School after their win, and all students were present at that time. Oconee County athletes participated in the Special Olympics area game on November 13th. The athletes competed in both 3x3 basketball and a skills basketball event. The athletes set new records in both of those categories this year. In the skills competition, the Oconee County placed second and third, and that's with shooting, passing, blocking, dribbling. And in the 3x3, Team Oconee won their first round against Green, followed by a victory over Cedar Shoals in the second round, and then Oconee County then defeated Morgan County in the final, securing their title as the area winners for the Special Olympics Games this year for the 2024. So we are very proud of all of our athletes as they participated in these games this year. Any questions?
Thank you for sharing. Next on the agenda is technology. Welcome, Mr. McCullers.
Good evening, board members. Dr. Branch. Oconee County Schools Technology Services Department, December 9th, 2024 Board of Education report includes one information item and no action items. Information item number one is our cybersecurity update. The Division of Technology Services has worked diligently this school year to strengthen our cybersecurity measures. I'd like to highlight three key enhancements this evening. The first is two-factor authentication. All district devices are set up to only allow logins with Oconee County Schools credentials. In addition to this layer of security, we now require two-step authentication to verify access to our devices and to our network. This year, we have also extended two-step verification to our student information system, Infinite Campus, to further protect sensitive student and staff data. Second item is malicious domain blocking. Through the Center of Internet Security, we have implemented the Malicious Domain Blocking and Reporting, or MDBR, service. This is a web security solution that provides an extra layer of protection against known threats such as malware, ransomware, phishing, and other cyber attacks. The cloud-based system helps prevent our IT infrastructure from connecting to harmful web domains. And last, I'd like to highlight the Know Before resources. Our system also utilizes the Know Before online platform, which is provided by the Georgia Department of Education, to help educate our staff on topics such as security awareness and phishing threats. Phishing emails remain one of the most common ways hackers attempt to infiltrate systems. This platform tracks responses and provides targeted educational resources. Educating our staff is crucial to maintaining a strong cybersecurity posture. These are just a few examples of how we are enhancing our cybersecurity practices in Oconee County, and that concludes the Technology Services report, unless you have any questions.
I have one. As we're looking at the MDVR and then other filtering systems that we have, are those on a network basis or are those on a device basis?
It's on our network, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that MDBR is actually an extra layer on top of the firewalls that we already have in place.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Human Resources. Welcome again, Mr. Kofer.
Thank you. The Human Resources Report this evening contains one action item. Last month, we presented to you the fall draft calendar for the 2026-2027 school year as an action item for this evening. As a reminder, we developed this calendar based on the consensus of our advisories to revisit the inclusion of a week-long fall break. We created two calendar versions for the 26-27 school year, one that represented our traditional model and one that represented the fall break model. These were provided to staff for feedback, and the overwhelming support of the fall break version is why we bring that forward today. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the placement of the fall break calendar on the table for community input for 1 month to provide ample time for parent and student feedback, with a final calendar recommendation to be made in January. And that concludes Human Resources report for this evening.
Any questions? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next is Business Services. Welcome, Mr. Adams.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. Tonight's Business Services, December 9th, 2024. We have 7 items of information and no action item for tonight's meeting. Our first item of information is our cash balance report. As of November 30th, the closing general balance fund is at an 80.45% increase over last month. Our state fundings are very stable. We continue to monitor the state situation with tax collections, but we feel very strong on this. The reason our increase for this month is we had a very strong tax collection month. Usually November is our strongest month during collection time, so it just represents what that are. We're sitting at about 60% overall. Our next item of information is our vendor report. This is for payments made during the month of November. We paid 461 vendors, $1.9 million for the month. Our third item of information is our budget report for November. Revenue and expenditures would be expected to be at 41.6%. Our monthly report shows 43.3%. I'd like to point out again, we do have encumbrances on there, about 1.78 million, or about 1.5%. So we are right in line where we should be for the calendar year, fiscal year. Our fourth item of information is our ELOS collections report. As you can see, we have an increase of 2.15 in collections over last month and a 1.60% increase over the same point last year. Again, very strong collections for the month. Our next item of information is our ELOS 6 report. These revenues and expenditures have been updated through November 30th. Our sixth item of information is our federal funds report. As you can see, these numbers have been updated again through November 30th. And just a friendly reminder, these are reimbursement based, so we kind of a lag before we'll see the revenues catch up with our expenditures as we wait for those reimbursements to come in. And I also like to point out, it's not on our slide right here, we will be paying our Oconee County custodians a one-time supplement from the state that was done in the budget this year. It'll take place next Friday, so all those employees will get that $1,000 supplement that are Oconee County employees. Our last item of information is a little bit of information about HB 581. This was passed to address property tax increases. This was in the November 5th local election we had, a statewide election that passed overwhelmingly. So I want to just give you some information about what the bill is about and point out some of the key features that we've been able to get from our trainings that we've been to since it's been passed. It does highlight some areas and some changes in the bill. Property tax caps and homestead exemptions. There is an opt-out provision I'll give you a brief timeline on that and some impact on the school district. And it does create an estimated rollback rate, which is a very new feature that we've not seen before. HB 581 establishes a floating homestead exemption that limits the annual increase in property tax assessment on homestead properties to the inflationary rate. That's possibly the CPI, but we're not sure yet. That's going to be determined by the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue, which one he goes with, but that's what we've kind of been led to believe right now, that they'll use the CPI. This goes into effect January 1st, 2025. Again, as I mentioned, it was passed with our past election on November 5th. There is an opt-out provision. You have a one chance to opt out to maintain local control. The opt-out process is kind of similar to our millage rate hearings. You have to have 3 hearings before, then it starts now, or excuse me, you have to start by January 1st and be done by March 1st. And by March 1st, you have to have the documents submitted to the Secretary of State's office. So just here's an example timeline. So the referendum, as I mentioned, was passed. If you were to decide to opt out, again, I mentioned the 3 public hearings. This is kind of an example of what those hearings would be. You'd have to have a call meeting. And then if you elect to opt out, you would need to hold, approve a resolution. And then, again, we have to file that with the Secretary of State's office before that deadline. The impact on school districts. This could significantly impact property taxes for the school district. Needs to be considered when we do our planning and our budgets, what the tax rates will look like. The impact to revenues and student services could be impacted. It may significantly reduce our property tax revenues, and it reduces the flexibility to meet our local needs that we've already established. Again, there's also the impact on the local 5 mil shares. This is kind of the key legislation piece, I think, that it's kind of a double dip, if you will. That they're calculated on a higher digest number, so with that impact, you create a double hit. So because they cap it on the higher digest, not the lower inflationary rate that they'll mark forward. So you're kind of getting a double hit there, and that'll increase what our local 5 mil share will be. So that's just an item of information for y'all on that. It does create the estimated rollback rate, as I mentioned. The key figure on this one is if you adopt, when you do that, they'll send that on the new notices. It'll have what their estimated rollback rate will be, and there'll be language on there, a disclaimer saying, this is the estimated. If you do adopt a millage rate increase, when you get your tax bill, it'll have another disclaimer saying what entity created the tax increase for not meeting the rollback millage rate. So just FYI on that part. We've kind of done some analysis going back over the last, from 2018 to 2014, what a cumulative loss would look like for us. About almost $14 million, $13.9 million is where we would sit. So on average, about $2 million per year. If you look at the last 3 years, our higher collections, that's about a $2.7 million. Just some takeaways for you. This is a local control issue. If you kind of give that up if you don't opt out. It has passed and it is a law. We are the only government entity, counties and cities will be able to add a penny to the sales tax. We're capped at where we are, so they can add that 1 extra penny on there. And so just wanted you all to be aware of that. At this time, we are not making any recommendations on this matter. We just wanted to share more information as we've been through the trainings that we've been to, and we've gotten this information for you to have as you make our budget as we go forward. And with that, I'll take any questions. That concludes my report.
Questions, Mr. Burgess?
Peter, is there a timeline that the Revenue Commissioner has to abide by to set the inflationary rate that will have to be considered as part of a millage setting process for the school system each year?
It hasn't given us one, sir, in the information we've seen, and it doesn't say that he has to use the CPI either. It just says to be determined by the commissioner. That's
So-
the only
so
language we found.
So the revenue commissioner has a lot of latitude to determine what that number is.
That is correct.
Using whatever formula they create.
From our understanding, that's what we could see, yes.
But is there a timeline that the school systems would have that information from the revenue commissioner before they have to start considering budget allocations and millage adoptions and those things?
I don't believe they're going to post anything, sir. From our conversations and our trainings that we've been to, they keep just telling us they'll be the revenue commissioner's decision on what they use, and they haven't given us a timeline on what they will be doing.
Okay. Can you go back to what you were talking about before, about the determination based on the assessed value of your digest as opposed to the rollback rate? I mean, I think I
So
understood what you're talking about, but I
It's our local 5 mil share that
Yeah.
we do. So with the being capped, when they do the QBE, they're going to take the higher digest when they do the calculation. So you're going to be capped down here, but when they calculate it for the formula, they're going to use the higher rate.
So the 5 mil buy-in is going to be based on the higher millage, higher assessment value of your digest.
That's correct.
From the state's perspective.
Exactly. They thought they were going to exempt out, but since it's considered a local option, they've been going ahead and included it.
Okay, so that's what
So
you're
it's a
saying.
double
So
hit
it's
to
going
our
to have
QBE.
it's going to have the effect of increasing the value of that 5 mil buy-in.
That's
that
correct.
then is deducted from the QBE formula before we get whatever state allocation we get.
That's correct.
And that's, okay. Maybe it's a good thing this is my last, I wish you guys well with this. What he's describing is a big change in the calculation from the state in terms of what our QBE earnings will be, and then not limitations, but interference with the ability to set the millage that you need to set based on whatever budget you believe is necessary to properly fund the school system. So it's going to be much more difficult, I predict, much more difficult to generate the revenue that you believe you're going to need for your school system without making some pretty difficult budget decisions about those things that you're not going to do in a school system as good as ours because you can't generate the revenue. So, interesting. Good luck, Peter.
Thank you,
Need it,
sir.
buddy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just, for clarification for myself on that, so as we're looking at the 5 mil shares, so it's going to be based off of the value, so if I'm looking back at your spreadsheet on here, so the fair share portion through QBE is going to come underneath that value of property with homestead, whereas the local portion will be under the new homestead value piece. So as the tax digest continues to increase over time, the state will be taking a larger percentage of the local taxpayers' dollars to reallocate across the state, not coming back to our county.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One other question on that, as soon as I said that. That would be managed through the QBE process in the future. So if there were any adjustments to that, that would go through any changes to QBE.
I would hope so, but QBA is a complicated formula.
Understood. Okay.
I think you're right.
Okay.
It would generally be changed or modified if it was going to be changed with some modification to the QBE formula. But I would remind you, we've been sitting here for 10 or 15 years, and every few years there's a conversation about modifications to the QBE formula. And I was working in OPB in 1980 when the original formula was developed, and it's not been materially adjusted ever since then for a whole host of reasons that don't have anything to do with what a school system needs to properly fund its desired operations.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is operations. Welcome, Dr. White.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. Operations has 3 items of information for this evening. The first informational item for operations is an update on our energy report. Our kilowatt usage per day for 1,000 square feet has been updated for the month of October. The second informational item is our transportation update. For the previous month, we had 51 field trips, 118 athletic trips, 45 special education trips, 287 buses deployed, for a total of 19,317 miles. And then our third item of information is an update on our school nutrition participation for the month of November. Board members, you'll see that we saw an increase in participation for breakfast of 0.61% and lunch of 2.52% as compared to November of 2023. This concludes the operations report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Next, we have operations facilities. Welcome, Mr. Ricketson. Love the Santa hat.
Thank you. Good evening. The Oconee County Schools Operations and Facilities December 9th, 2024 Board of Education report contains 2 items of information. The first item of information is our November lead custodian meeting was held on Thursday, November 14th, and was hosted by the team at North Oconee High School. The team discussed vacuum maintenance and window cleaning techniques. Our custodial teams are to be commended for the rigorous work ensuring that our schools are clean for health. Second item of information is a construction update. We continue to present a picture of the ISC. We are nearing completion of the punch list items. We're just tying up a few little loose ends, but we're getting really close to closing this project out. Also, the district-wide generator project, we continue to wait for the arrival of the generators, which should be here mid to late February, early March. And once they arrive, we'll begin installing them in earnest and get them operational. And that concludes the operations facilities report, unless there are any questions.
I have a couple questions, Mr. Ricketson. So on the generator project, I know we've been working on this for a while. So those generators that we're bringing in are going to be primarily for cafeteria use. Is that correct? So it's going to be for refrigeration, for freezer space, and then possibly some others for technology use. Is that?
For the most part, all generators are to keep the freezer coolers operating during a power outage so that we don't lose the food that's in the freezers and coolers.
Yeah, and some more of that backstory would be, so if we lost that food, then we wouldn't have food to be able to feed the students next day, so we couldn't open up school whenever the rest of the building had power back.
Correct.
Accurate, okay.
There, a few of the generators will support technology, the data centers, and some life safety systems. But for the most part, these generators are for the freezer coolers at each school.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One clarification for me too, Fred. These are emergency generators designed to cover emergency power outages for the limited uses that Ryan's just talking about. They're not generators that are designed to run an entire school system or an entire building for days on end, are they?
That's correct. They will, now the generators will run for days on end. Say, for instance, we had an ice storm where we had a power outage for a number of days. It was continue to keep the freezer coolers operating,
right,
but it would not support the school itself.
Yeah, so they're not sized nor intended to be a replacement for Georgia Power or Walton EMC or anybody else who we rely on power to run our entire school system.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Next, we have communications. Welcome, Mr. Colquitt.
Thank you, Ms. Argo. Good evening again, board members and Dr. Branch. The communications report contains 2 items of information this evening. The first item of information is November social media impressions. Oconee County Schools had 37 social media posts in the month of November, and the average impressions was 8,005. As a reminder, that is the average number of times a post appeared on a screen. 8 posts averaged more than 10,000 impressions, led by the OCHS band's gift of concession stand proceeds and donations to a Tennessee high school band that had been impacted by Hurricane Helene. That post appeared on 41,945 screens. 20 of the 37 posts reached 5,000 impressions. For the month, OCS gained 10 followers, giving the district an updated number of more than 21,300 across the social media platforms. In addition, the OCS newsletter, which was released on November 22nd, had 8,432 unique opens, which is an open rate of 67.3%. The industry average for education is 39.5%. We thank the parents, students, community members, and media outlets that follow and engage with our social media accounts. The second item of information is the November 24 highlights video. As you can see, another great month in our schools. And that concludes communications, unless you have any questions for me.
Next, we have communications to the board. Do we have anyone signed up?
Ms. Argo, no one has signed up to speak this evening.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have action items. Dr. Branch.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, board members. First item is our board policy BBA, which again addresses the board officer appointment or election. And so we'd recommend approval to remove that policy off the table and place it into action.
So moved.
Ms. Parrish?
Second.
Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 5-0.
Okay, up next, we have the draft calendar for 26-27 school year, and we would recommend that the board place this on the table for public and community input.
So move.
Mr. Burgess?
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Passes 5-0.
Finally, you heard the extensive work that's been done on the school resource officer MOU. I want to thank Sheriff Hale and his staff for their tremendous work and collaboration and partnership. And thank you for being here as well, Sheriff. We would recommend that the board approve the SRO MOU as presented.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Ransom?
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in, oh, do you have a question?
Comment.
Comment, okay.
Obviously, since the tragedy in Barrow County months ago, we've been talking about this ever since, extensively, and there's been a lot of work done, apparently, and I appreciate all the work that the staff's done and Dr. Branch has done to get us to this point. I also want to recognize Sheriff Hale, as you did, Jason, and appreciate your participation and assistance in being willing to work with us since the very beginning of this. And a term that's been used over and over and over is partnership. I'm not going to be around, after this month, so I'm not going to be part of the approval of this process when it's done. So I just want to make a parting comment. I think that partnership arrangement is critical to the way this should work. It's what we've talked about. It's what we've been trying to achieve. And I think, personally, a partnership arrangement is the best approach if we can make that work. Now, Mr. Kofor, Dr. Yancey talked to us about other approaches that other school systems have successfully used when they've gone a different way. But we've been trying to make this partnership work, and I personally, if I was still here, I'd still be pushing on that and promoting that partnership be be the successful solution to this. Mr. Kofer mentioned that we've now included the Board of Commissioners in this agreement based on conversations from our attorneys, and I think that was a good move, because clearly to make this partnership work, it's going to take participation by the Board of Commissioners as well. Because the sheriff, his operation is funded by the Board of Commissioners. And a true partnership, in addition to sharing responsibilities, is a shared responsibility for the financial burdens of this operation as well. So having them in this agreement and part of that conversation is going to be critical to make a true partnership work. So I will be watching with great interest over the next several months as you guys work this out and bring something forward that works. But I think those are key components of the way this should work and would be a successful model for not only our county, but when we look around at multiple counties around us, that's exactly what they've done. They've created partnerships with their Board of Commissioners and their Sheriff's Office to create a community-involved, community-supported SRO program to provide for the safety of all of their schools. That's a successful model, and I hope that's what you guys are able to work out in the months ahead. So good luck. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'd like to also thank Sheriff Hale and also our staff for all the hard work they've done on this. I believe we had a motion and we had a second. Are we ready to vote? Passes 5-0. We do have a need to go into executive session and need a motion to do so.
I will make a motion that the board will adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon personnel matters as described on the affidavit to be attached to the minutes.
Ms. Parrish, thank you.
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Passes 5-0.